Hey guys, it's Daniel, licensed therapist. Last week I made a video about Andrew Tate and his experience in Romanian prison, which sounds horrible by the way. And in that video, I feel like I was very judicious with my praise. I was very gracious because I feel like he deserved it. It was a very accurate representation of how I felt about how he psychologically handled Romanian prison. And I feel like I got a lot of goodwill and positive sentiment from the Tate lovers. Well, today we can take all that goodwill and positive sentiment and throw it right out the window because in the same podcast, Andrew gave relationship advice. And if you guys know me, I love to comment on relationship advice because most of the time it's really bad. And surprise, Andrew's relationship advice is bad. How bad is it? Let's find out.
I think lots of men have gone through heartbreak. A lot of men have, and I wouldn't say that I've gone through any heartbreak which is particularly worse than any other guy. What I will say is that I think heartbreak is the most fantastic motivator on the planet. When a lot of men message me and say they're heartbroken, I think that is the most fantastic mindset to be in to achieve things. Because there is that degree of revenge, and there is that degree of vengeance, and that can only be achieved through being so successful, so monumentally important that she can't forgive you. And also, you cannot even sleep, you can't even concentrate, like your whole mind's a mess. That's the perfect time to train. I know what you're saying. I don't think I've been through a particularly bad heartbreak, but I'm saying that.
Who did she leave you for? Did she leave you for somebody where?
No, I don't think I've had a particularly bad heartbreak. I only mention heartbreak all the time because I know it's a path every single young man goes through.
I also think you're not a type of guy that would ever give credit to that person, if there was one. So I don't see you saying that because it is a form of a victory over Top G, which that's not going to happen.
Well, that's part of it, but then let's analyze now, right? There's no girl who I've ever been with in my life who can now turn on the internet without seeing my face.
Sure.
Isn't that beautiful? They have to all lie to their man and pretend they don't know me.
I don't know him.
Because if they go, I was with him for a few years, their whole relationship will probably break down because then he's gonna get pissed off and insecure. So that to a degree is a victory. Mm-hmm. That's kind of fun. But no, I didn't have any. The reason I say heartbreak is because in the modern world, I don't think things were as bad when I was younger. I think women were more pure when I was younger. Even in when I was 20, it's only 16 short years. I think women were actually a lot purer before OnlyFans, before Instagram. The sexual marketplace wasn't globalized.
Yeah.
When I was 20, if there was a hot girl in the small town, she was the hot girl in the small town. Now she's the hot girl in the small town. She's also in Dubai and Courchevel. And the whole world's globalized. The competition's globalized. Everything's changed. I didn't have a particularly hard time. The reason I say heartbreak is because 80% of the emails I get from men are about heartbreak. I think that most men, especially young men in the world today, are getting their hearts broken. And when you're saying who are they leaving for, they're leaving for the millionaire who hits them up on Instagram. It's hard.
Is that what happened to you?
That's not what happened to me. No.
Okay.
But I'm talking about the emails I get. You're a guy, you're in Nebraska, to high school sweetheart, she's a 10, everything's fine. She's in Courchevel with a millionaire.
So here Andrew and Patrick are talking about heartbreak as a motivator. And what do I think about heartbreak as a motivator? I think it is a motivator. I think it can cause us to perform at a very high level, but I think we have to ask the question, is it the best motivator? Because Andrew is talking about losing sleep. Great, that's the best time to work out. Do you feel like we should be losing sleep and that's a good thing? Because that's the way he talks about it. He says losing sleep is good and to use that in order to perform. I totally disagree with this because there are so many unintended negative consequences to doing this that it's altogether a bad idea. Because I feel like we all know that we shouldn't do things for other people. We shouldn't be motivated by bitterness or anger about a girl that dumped us or left us, and that's the thing that's driving us. We should do things because we owe it to ourselves, because we're passionate about it, because we want to do it. Not because we're harboring some spite and we want to throw it in the face of some girl. So I completely disagree with what they're saying here. I believe that it's true, it is a motivator, but it's not a good one, and I don't believe that we should do this. Let's go on to the next clip.
When you have experience with lots of different apples, you know what a good one and a bad one is. So when we say we all had that girl we messed up when we were young, if I found another girl with those qualities, I certainly wouldn't mess it up. You need experience to understand what you have to value it. If you don't have experience, you don't value what you have. So the original question is a really good one of whether men are chained and enslaved by their desires or whether they need to sleep with lots of women. I think in the modern world, you need experience and you need choices and you need options. But If you live by the sword, you die by the sword. If you're going to be the guy who's also out there in the club and sleeping with lots of girls, talking to lots of girls, there's going to be times you lose a girl that you don't want to lose. You can't be a coward about it. You live by the sword, you die by the sword. There's up and down. There's rain and sunshine. You have to be that man who's going to go through it all. And then when you've been through enough of it, like I have, like I said, if I find a beautiful girl now who's a 10 and deletes and doesn't want Instagram, that's worth more to me than 1,000 stupid girls.
Respect.
Yeah, that's who I want.
Yeah, I got you.
For my safety, for my security, for my peace of mind, for everything.
So I do see the logic. I see what Andrew is saying here. You have to experience a lot of things so you know what you want. He's basically saying it's like buying a car. You have to test drive a bunch of cars to know what you like about cars, and eventually you can find the car that you like. However, relationships are not like cars. Because what you're essentially saying is have a bunch of relationships. But relationships that end are basically failed relationships. And failed relationships are not things that you want to have a lot of. You only really want one good relationship. You want to be like that old couple that loves each other, that got married when they were really young, and that they've been together for like 60 or 80 years. That's what we want. We want someone that we are together with and have a strong bond with for a really long time. You don't want to have a bunch of relationships that have failed. And so it's not like the car analogy. It's kind of more like the drug analogy. It's like someone saying, you know what? I'm going to try every single drug to see which one I like. Maybe I don't like any of them, but I'm going to try them all. I'm going to shoot up. I'm going to snort. I'm going to try that zombie drug, that one that came out that's new. I'm going to do it all. I think we all can see that there's consequences to trying drugs. Maybe there's that one person that can try all the drugs and they're fine and there's no ill effects. They're not addicted and they can move on with life. But I think there's a lot of people out there that will take a drug and they'll get addicted and basically ruin their lives. So I don't think it's a good idea what Andrew's saying. I'm actually very against it. It can work out, but I wouldn't recommend it. And he's right. You live by the sword and you die by the sword. Just don't pick up a sword.
If your woman wouldn't wait for you if you went to jail for 5 years, why are you with her? Why? If she wouldn't wait, I know she's hot, I know she's funny, I know she makes you laugh. But if you can't sit in that jail cell with 100% certainty that she's not out with her friends, them in her ear, talking shit, watching Sex and the City, whatever it is, and her ending up with some other guy, why are you even buying her dinner? For what, sex? Like, that loyalty to me is the only thing left that's valuable. When I'm interested and we're in jail, we're sitting there saying we have it so much better than most guys. Because most guys in jail, imagine you're a normal person, you go to jail. Who's feeding your family? Who's paying the rent? Who's feeding your kids? I said, Tristan, we're in jail and we're suffering, but everybody we love is good. I'm a man, I'm supposed to suffer. I'll sit here with the cockroaches. If that means all my kids eat, everyone I care about eats, my mother's fed, my mother has a house, roof over her head, everybody has everything they want. Only person suffering is me. I'll take that all day. Most men who go to jail can't say that. Another thing that gave me absolute peace of mind is the women who love me are waiting for me. Imagine you go to jail and you're completely heads over heels in love with a woman, but you know deep in your heart that she's out in the club and she's stealable. We talk about thoughts you can't get out of your head in jail. It's amazing how when you lose all access to electronics, how thoughts are amplified. Most of us sitting here, you've never been without a phone or without a laptop or without a computer for 93 days. You'd be amazed how loud you can think. You'd be amazed how vivid your mind is. I learned that. If you had the nagging thought in your head, I loved her, she cheated on me before, maybe she cheated again, she hasn't written me in 3 days, and then plus jail. That's why they're all crying. That's why all the men in there were sobbing. Their wives are either fucking someone else or the bills ain't paid. It's not just his situation, it's everything else. Yeah. So now if you're gonna say to me, what do I respect in a woman? I respect a woman who's gonna wait for me. I have no interest in a woman, oh, she's funny, she's cool, she's hot. Don't care. Don't care. Is she going to wait for me?
You know, when I heard Andrew say this, you know what I did? I went to my wife and I asked her, honey, if I went to jail for 10 years, would you wait for me? And you know what she said? She actually was confused and she said, what do you mean, wait for you? And then we kind of laughed because what else is she going to do? Of course she's going to wait for me. Another option didn't even enter her mind. And you know what? Vice versa. When he said this, I was thinking, why wouldn't you wait for your wife or for your husband? So it's kind of like saying, if you're going to buy a coat, make sure it's cloth. Don't buy a paper coat. If it gets wet, it's going to get ruined. It can get torn. Paper isn't soft, so you want to buy a cloth coat. To which everyone says, yeah, no duh. So the advice is actually good, but it is very, very basic. It's something that you shouldn't even need to think about. And the thing is, it kind of makes me sad that they do have to think about something like this, because the commitment that two people have in a relationship should be so solid that something like this shouldn't even enter your mind. And that's what's ideal. And so the fact that Andrew has to talk about this, worry about this, and the people that he's talking to and the people around him have to worry about this indicates to me that trust is something that is kind of rare, which is really sad. If I think about the people around me, my family and my friends, and I threw at them the 10-year jail question, everybody would say, of course they're gonna wait. And if that actually played out and someone went to jail for 10 years and their spouse left them, everyone would be saying, what's going on? Why did you leave them? So I think that Andrew is in a very specific environment surrounded by very specific people, and it does not at all apply to the general population. So to give advice like that is really cavalier, and I don't think you should be painting broad strokes with your specific population and the people surrounded by you. But let's get on to the next clip.
I live an experience and I analyze the experience and I draw every lesson from that experience. If you're a man who has a heart broken, a lot of them are so stupid that they may revert to the mindset that you've said. They may say, oh, I don't want to have my heart broken again, but they haven't sat there and said, why did this happen? You have to know the why to prevent it from happening. You have to analyze the scenario and learn from it. One thing I'll say about women that's fantastic, one of the best things women are best at is they're a fantastic mirror. Women are a reflection. If you have any weakness inside of you, or if you have any downfalls as a person, a woman's going to show you who they are. If you're too emotional, if you're too easy to get angry, she'll teach you that. She'll teach you that you can get angry too fast. Piss her off. If your dick's small, she'll tell you. She'll tell you exactly what is wrong with you when she is mad. She'll sit there and say, you got a short leg and your haircut's shit. Get a new haircut. I hate your ugly ass. They'll tell you exactly what is wrong with you. When you look at your bad or your previous relationships with women that went wrong, you can sit there and go, okay, this all went wrong. What has she taught me? She taught me that I'm emotionally affectable. She taught me that if she ignores me, she gets more attention than if she's nice to me. She taught me, you have to sit there and analyze all the lessons and you have to implement them. It's the same with absolutely everything. But women are a fantastic mirror. A lot of these guys who resort to that are men who don't have the self-reflection to sit and say, okay, why did this happen?
Once again, I keep saying it, but the logic is sound. I can understand his series of thoughts and how he comes up with that conclusion. Yes, you are supposed to take your experiences and analyze them, and you find out what's true and you grow from that. The thing is, it's not that simple because people are so individual. Each person has their own set of experiences, their own set of beliefs and values. Each person looks through the world, through relationships, they look at themselves through their own individual lens. And so if you are trying to analyze your situation through your lens, you're only going to see one certain thing. And you know, they say you're the sum of the 5 people you hang around the most. So basically, you're all mostly in echo chambers. And if he's in an echo chamber, what he believes is only going to be confirmed. And the thing about Andrew is he's very persuasive. He's a smart guy. And so I can see him taking his beliefs and conforming the beliefs of other people around him. Basically, they're one big ball of confirmed beliefs. So that's one problem. The second problem that I see with what he's talking about is experiences can lead you to wrong conclusions. We can have our own set of experiences and they can lead us to something that's simply not true. So we can't always rely on our experiences. I'm sure you know that. You've had experiences that have led you to wrong conclusions, and so have I. And that's why we need something else. What is that something? I hate to say it, but a therapist can be really handy here. Why? Because this is something that a therapist studies. They study the mind. They study relationships. There's a ton of research out there. There's experts out there that have dedicated their lives to studying this. And so there's a lot of good knowledge out there. And someone like Andrew, which I wouldn't expect him to know the research, to listen to or have talked to the experts about relationship and psychology. So it's okay that he doesn't know it, but to completely neglect that, I feel like is a big disservice to people. And to just throw out your thoughts as if they're truth without knowing the body of evidence and research out there, I think that's a bit careless. So once again, I understand the logic, but I just completely disagree.
Man, you have to be accountable for absolutely everything. Every single thing that happens is your fault. I didn't go to jail because of Romania. When I was in jail, it was my fault. Even though I don't believe it was just, even though I do not believe it was fair, even though I know I am innocent, it is my fault because I didn't have to become so influential. I did it. But it's also my fault when I'm on the jet and living my perfect life. I did that. I did the good, I did the bad. You made her leave you. You did. Whether you like it or not, you are the reason she became so cold. You are the reason she doesn't listen anymore. You are the reason she's so arrogant all of a sudden.
100%.
You are. You may not have identified why yet, but if you identify why, then you get into your next relationship healed and understanding what you did wrong and learn from it. That's what you have to do. But most of these men don't want the self-accountability.
I love that.
And they want to blame the women. You have to blame yourself.
Uh-oh. Is Andrew starting to make a lot of sense here? I love what Andrew's saying here about taking responsibility. It's my fault. I like that. What is he talking about? He's talking about what we call locus of control. Locus of control basically means what do you ascribe to be responsible for what happened. And we can have an internal locus of control or external locus of control. People who have an external locus of control say the external things outside of me cause these things to happen, and vice versa for the internal. So people with the internal say, basically what Andrew's saying, it was my fault, I did this. And you know what? I wouldn't go 100% and like Andrew and say it's all my fault. There are external circumstances, but we do want to find things that are our fault so that we can take empowerment and we can say, it happened because of me, I can change it so I can change the outcome. So I really like what Andrew is saying here, and I agree with him on this topic 100%. And I also agree that we have to move on and be healed from our circumstances of negative relationship outcomes. We need to be, as much as possible, unscarred and unaffected from failed relationships. We need to be as hurt as little as possible. And this really flies in the face of what he talked about earlier, about embracing the pain and using it, harboring it almost as some kind of energy to drive you to perform well. Because I don't think it works like that for most people. It's not easy to get over heartbreak. A lot of, like I said, unintended consequences happen. We can start to think of ourselves in a negative way. We can think of ourselves as devalued, or we can think of ourselves as unlovable. We can think about relationships as dangerous or scary. We can think about women as hurtful and mistrustful. And all of those things, and there's a lot more, are going to contribute to a failed relationship. So we don't want to go down that road. And that's the negativity that can possibly come out from failed relationships and dating over and over. It's kind of like playing with fire. I wouldn't recommend it, like I said. Andrew here is saying he recommends that, but going through it by being healed, and I think that's easier said than done. So what do? You have to evaluate a person really, really well before getting into a relationship with them. You have to think about it and make a really, really good decision before you commit to anything. And in that way, we're only really committing to people who are good people, and that's a setup for successful relationships as much as possible. So I thought this was really fun. All you Tate people out there, if I disrespected your Lord and Savior, come at me. Bring on the hate. I'll see you in the comment section. And if there's anything you want me to react to, leave it in the comments down there. Thanks for watching, you amazing person. I'll see you next time.